Hi, I'm Melanie DeFord, Assistant Vice President for Research at the University of Notre Dame.
And I'm Kay Townsend. I'm an architect with BSA Life Structures in Indianapolis, and I am a lab planner.
So I chose a role in science, quite frankly, even as a little girl wanting to grow up and be a doctor. I was a pre-med major with biology and chemistry as the formal majors in college, and kind of always knew that I wanted to do something in science and technology.
And I had a very different path. I didn't go back to architecture school until I was about 32. So I kind of didn't grow up thinking that that's what I wanted to do, but it's when I looked at my life, that's what I was destined to be.
So I started out as a researcher, if you will, doing experiments at the bench and generating data and really just all my time in the lab, doing that crazy stuff that you hear about researchers doing, being in the lab at 2:30 in the morning and waiting for the data to come off the machine or something like that. So I did that for many years. And then I moved into a kind of a shared researcher administrative role here at Notre Dame in our WM Keck Center for Transgene Research, and became the assistant director of that center. And so with that administrative work, I kind of got to see the other side of being kind of supportive of research and not just doing research, and then moved into my current role of assistant vice president for research here. So I get to be involved with all of the research on the campus and in different ways. And so that's quite frankly how I was fortunate enough to meet Kay, was being involved in some facilities things.
I was very fortunate at that time after I finished school and came to BSA, to be able to start working in laboratory design. Not something that I ever thought that I would do, but once I got involved with it, it's just so fascinating, and watching the researchers and getting to work with them and learn what they do, and creating spaces for them that they can go to work in every day and just make these wonderful discoveries, to help feed the world or solve, issues in human health. And it's just been such a worthwhile career.
I agree about it being so fulfilling, and I think it's so important for people to find really what their purpose is, if you will. And for me personally, doing research was very fulfilling and was very easy really for me to see my purpose. And the nice thing is, now that I support researchers, I still feel very connected to what they're doing and very purpose-filled, which is very motivating and again, very, very rewarding. I really think that the importance of having women at the table in the design and planning for science-related buildings is just to be able to bring kind of that warmth to it. I feel, again, not being critical of our male counterparts, but oftentimes they look at a space and just look at function, if you will, and the efficiency of the space. Whereas I really do believe that women, and Kay in particular, I would say, because she's a very warm and nurturing and caring person, brings that warmth to the space. And I don't mean warmth, obviously, temperature-wise. I mean the warmth to where you can see yourself, quote unquote, living in that space. And as researchers, we often do live in our research spaces.
We look at things a little more emotionally and think about how people will feel working in the space. I like to bring windows in, which I know that is a lead thing. It's, it's a well-being thing, but I think it's more of an intuitive design thing for us to make things comfortable and well planned. I'm not saying that male architects aren't good planners or anything like that, but I do feel like there's something innate in women, that nesting thing that they talk about and everything, that makes us create spaces that we know others will love to be in and are successful in.
I couldn't agree more. And I think it's been interesting to see there has been lots of change and lots of societal change, if you will, about the perceptions of women in science and technical fields, if you will. But I know that 20 years ago, as a newbie trying to help design a facility, I really felt a lot of empowerment by working with Kay and lifting each other up, if you will, because oftentimes when we were in meetings about designing that new building, we were the only women at the table. And so being comfortable with each other and being helpful to each other and really having kind of that judge-free zone, if you will, to be able to lift each other up and help each other without feeling like we were diminishing our place at the table, if you will. And so I think that that's so important that women in these fields, where maybe they are still predominantly male driven, to have each other's backs, quite frankly. And I always felt that with Kay and the work that we've done together.
I've thoroughly enjoyed over the years meeting some other, women who felt the same way, who would come to me and say, I don't understand what I'm seeing on these drawings. And I help them understand the drawings, and they help me learn about their science and how they work in the space. And having that relationship has really helped me create great spaces for them. Yeah, it makes me understand what they do better. And it's just such a great, fulfilling relationship.
I agree completely. And I think that is another kind of just a difference to what women can bring to the table and to the project. And again, I think, as I was speaking earlier about bringing warmth to the space, I think that making those connections and they end up being friendships is part of that warmth that women bring to the space. And I think that it's always, again, coming at it with, boy, this is going to take a village. So who do I get to lean on, and who do I get to be helpful to me, and who can I help in this process and project? And so Kay has just been, a great colleague and friend throughout all of this. And she's right. We've known each other for almost 20 years, and 3 or 4 buildings and multiple projects later. So if I was to talk to maybe, my 9 or 10-year-old self, or that age group of young girls these days, I would say, just have the confidence that you can be anything that you want to be, and really strive to go after what that is. And sometimes that might mean that you have to find someone outside your own home to be that mentor and that role model for you in a science or technology field.
When I was in high school, I never took a chemistry class, and the sciences were not really something that I thought about that much. But as I've gotten older and I've worked with all of you in the industry, I've learned so much. I like to joke and say I've learned enough to be dangerous. Think about why things are the way they are and question it and look into it, and never think that you can't do something. I still, all these years later, think about myself being this little girl from a small town who, people look to for lab design. And I always just think it's just me, but I followed that curiosity and let it take me where it did. And it's been such a fulfilling career to work with people like Melanie.
I couldn't agree more, honestly. And I think that the mentorship that we can provide to young women and girls coming up into this field, and letting them know that really they can do and be anything that they want to be. But I think also helping them understand and learn about things that maybe help them decide what they don't want to be when they grow up, right? I mean, there's a lot of pieces of being in science and technology that really take a lot of you, and sometimes it's just not, being at the bench maybe isn't for everyone, and helping people find their path and learning what they don't want to be when they grow up is really an important piece of helping that generation find their place.